Let me start out first by giving thanks to God for giving me the strength to get up this morning in my right mind and be able to join you this morning in church. Also, let me thank my friend, Reverend, and as I said, in a different, if we stepped outside, I might have said Assemblyman, I might have said Chairman. Inside right now, I'm definitely saying Reverend, and the pastor of Abundant Life Church. Reverend Kareem Kamara. And let me also say good morning to the First Lady, who is up here on the stage. Good morning. And I believe that was your daughter, who honestly put a tear in my wife's eyes. She was just sitting there smiling away. She was like, that is so cute. And I was like, okay, no more tears, honey. Okay? Let me also acknowledge my wife, Elsie McCabe Thompson. And one other person who's with me this morning, and I'm only going to acknowledge her because she is like still smiling, asked to see her left hand. A friend, Carrie Mobley, who got married last Saturday. And Carrie is, and as you're walking down later, she's going to kind of go like that and show her ring off. Okay, congratulations, Carrie, on your marriage. Congratulations. And again, Reverend, and to all of you, to the congregation, you have built this together in 3 years. And it's a matter of fact, a little less than 3 years, if I'm correct. Reverend, let me just congratulate you. Building a church, building a congregation isn't easy. Coming together, congregations growing, and it really isn't always just about the pastor. It's about the people. It's about the people growing together, and you are growing a great congregation here. Let me congratulate all of you. Congratulations on building a great congregation. And one other thing, and I've mentioned and said you're Reverend, and he is an elected official also. He continues to impress. He continues to be that person who others follow. And one of the reasons that I am here today is being able to have the opportunity to have conversations with him. He is a thoughtful person. And when we talk about the issues that face our borough, our city, our state, our nation, he is one person I've always enjoyed having those conversations with. And to be able to speak about the topic today, yes, I'm a candidate for mayor, and he's been advising me in a number of ways, but also just about issues of the heart, issues of humanity. He is a great person and a great friend. So again, thank you, Reverend. Thank you so much. I'm going to skip over the campaign jargon today, and you know, the election is on September 10th, and would hope that we all come out and vote, and I would hope that I would be your candidate for mayor, and to be the next mayor of the city of New York. But I'm here today to talk about something that is a little bit deeper than just elections, and it really has to do everything with our hearts and our minds, and us as a city and us as a country. And it is in pertaining to the Trayvon Martin decision, but it also has to do with who we are as people across this country, The book of Proverbs promises that out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square. In the aftermath of the verdict in the Trayvon Martin case, the president spoke with great wisdom. I was moved. Most Americans were moved. Of course, people being people, we were moved in many ways. Moved most perhaps because of where we stand and in whose steps we walk. Thousands and thousands were moved in peaceful outrage to the streets and cities across our country. Others were moved to quiet talks with their children, especially those of us like me with young black sons. Still others, out of crass politics at its ugliest, or the stubborn stain of enduring racism, were moved to attack our president for the courage and honesty he demonstrated when he spoke to America, not just as our president, but as himself, as a black man. As a black man in America in 2013, in the days after a jury of our peers, declared the killing of an innocent black youth to not be a crime. And I thought to myself, what brought him to the White House briefing room last week? What made this dignified, calm, thoughtful man, at the height of American power, decide to address our nation, in some ways, stripped of that power, not as president, but as the black man he is? I am, and we will always be. So I was moved. I was moved to the streets where I stood with Reverend Sharpton and Trayvon Martin's mother and thousands of others at One Police Plaza. I was moved to quiet conversation with my son, with my daughters, and with my wife. And I was moved to speak with you today. As many of you know, it is not my first or natural instinct to talk about race in the context of politics. Some of that is biographical. I'm the son of struggle before me. And though it has not ended, I have lived in the blessing of its success so far. My grandparents immigrated from the Caribbean and seized the opportunity our city and our nation offered them to build a good life for their child. My father was the first black man elected to the New York State Senate from Brooklyn in 1965, and then to become a judge of the appellate division of the state of New York. My mother was a teacher at a public school that offered an education to kids like me, Public School 262 in Brooklyn. And I've had the enormous privilege to serve my city, including the great honor to be the first black man given the trust to manage our city's finances. Some of it is philosophical, because when I look across our city, from whatever vantage point, on stage at a forum, meeting people at a subway stop, looking west from Brooklyn towards Manhattan, south from Manhattan to Staten Island, or across the table at Barbara Gamble in her home that I stayed at, in her home at one of East Harlem's New York City Housing Authority developments, I see people who want the same thing and share the same values, no matter the color of their skin, the race of their parents, or the language of their homes. The dreams of their fathers are the dreams of our fathers. They are our dreams for our sons. And when the rules of society that we call and honor as the law allow even one of those dreams to be snuffed out in anger and fear without consequence or action, those rules fail us all. So I feel compelled to speak today because, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said more than 45 years ago, when he believed the policies and practices of his nation's government did not meet the high measure of his nation's ideals, Dr. King said, a time comes when silence is betrayal. That time has come for us. When George Zimmerman was acquitted, I said that Trayvon Martin was killed because he was black. Now, some people criticize me. They criticize me for that. I don't mean the professional race baiters and the politicians of division. I'm talking about people I know and trust and respect. And I understood their concern. We have a system of laws in this country. System of laws in America. We have trial by jury. And anytime there is a trial that occupies the minds and stirs the passions of Americans, especially when those passions are stirred in different directions that can often be measured by race, many people look to their leaders to keep passion from turning to anger and anger from turning to violence. Again, I understand that. And let me be clear, there is no room for any violence in response to this or any other verdict. As the president said, violence is a dishonor to Trayvon. But truth is another story. Truth must be heard. And Trayvon Martin did die because he was black. Of that, there is no doubt. I didn't serve on that jury, and I'm not here to discuss whether under the law they came to a reasonable conclusion about reasonable doubt. But I do know that George Zimmerman was suspicious of Trayvon because he was young and because he was black. And I believe that. And I believe that, even if you accept that the system worked in the Florida trial, you must also recognize that the system failed. It failed Trayvon. It failed Trayvon. It failed my son. It failed America. How did the system fail? How did the system fail? Here in New York City, we have institutionalized Mr. Zimmerman's suspicion with a policy that all but requires our police officers to treat young black and Latino men with suspicion, to stop them and frisk them because of the color of their skin. 600,000 of them were stopped in 2011. More than 90% innocent are profiled, as Trayvon was profiled. If our government profiles people because of skin color and treats them as potential criminals, how can we expect citizens to do any less? How did the system fail? Because we have gun laws across this country that empower, even encourage individuals to take the law literally into their own armed hands. Without a gun and a license to use it, would George Zimmerman have gotten out of his car? I don't know, but without a gun in George Zimmerman's hands, Trayvon Martin would almost certainly be alive. I believe, as sure as I call Barack Obama Mr. President, and I'm privileged to stand here before you, that the long arc of the universe bends toward justice. I believe that movement in our universe moves towards justice. But it requires people of strong goodwill and a chorus of common dreams to bend it. I do not believe our government can fully stop racism, but I do believe we must constantly look to see how it may enable it, even unintentionally. So we must ask ourselves, when fear of young black men ends in deadly violence against the innocent, has our government perpetuated that fear by targeting people of color with suspicion? Do our laws empower it? That's the question. Do they create more possibility for violent confrontation, not less? If we believe, as we should and we must, that those accused of a crime are innocent until proven guilty, how can we abide policies that treat whole groups of people as possibly guilty before they are even accused of not being innocent? The prophet Isaiah tells us that the servant of the Lord will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. Justice on earth. And here, now, we are the servants the Lord has. We are. So in this moment, in these times, when the days are long and the temperature is hot, and for many of us, the disappointment over Trayvon Martin's death is terribly real, let us rededicate ourselves to bending that arc. The verdict in Florida was a verdict, but it was not the verdict. It was not the verdict. Let the verdict of these days instead be this: that in protest on our streets, in quiet conversations with our families, or in the halls and chambers of our government, we will ask the hard questions, face the hard truths, and honor our fathers' and mothers' dreams. And let that verdict spread from here, from our city of opportunity, where liberty guards the harbor that has welcomed generations of new Americans, for all of our sons, for all of our daughters, and all of theirs to come. Again, let me just say what an honor it is to be here this morning to Abundant Life. Thank you so much for hearing from me this morning. Let us make sure that we stand together as a city, all people across the city, to make sure that we continue to bring about real change in our city, for all of us, for our children, and for our future. Thank you so much. Thank you.